Story 1. I've been a wedding planner for 7 years, and I thought I'd seen every possible way a wedding could go wrong. Runaway brides, drunk uncles, food poisoning, you name it. But nothing prepared me for what happened at the Johnson-Martinez wedding last weekend. I got into wedding planning because I love helping couples create their perfect day. After working at a hotel for a few years coordinating events, I decided to start my own business. Most families are wonderful to work with, even when they're stressed. But occasionally, you get that one family member who thinks they know better than everyone else. The bride had warned me about her aunt from the very beginning. She'd mentioned that her dad's sister could be a little intense about spiritual matters and might try to make suggestions about the ceremony. I figured this meant she might ask about including a prayer or two. I was completely unprepared for what actually happened. The wedding was beautiful. We'd set up everything perfectly in the garden venue, white chairs arranged in neat rows, flowers everywhere, string lights hanging from the trees. The couple had chosen a simple, heartfelt ceremony with a justice of the peace officiating. Nothing fancy, just personal vows and the legal stuff. About an hour before the ceremony, I noticed this woman in flowing purple robes talking loudly to other guests about spiritual energy and blessed unions. She had crystals hanging from her neck and was carrying what looked like a small wooden staff. I assumed she was just one of those eccentric relatives every family has. The ceremony started perfectly. The bride looked stunning, the groom was crying happy tears, and the justice of the peace was doing a lovely job with the proceedings. We were about halfway through the vows when everything went sideways. Right as the bride was saying, "I promise to support your dreams," this woman Karen suddenly stood up and marched straight toward the altar. "Karen, stop. This ceremony is completely wrong. You're dooming this marriage with your secular energy." The justice of the peace looked confused and stopped mid-sentence. The bride's face went from glowing happiness to complete shock. "Justice of the peace, ma'am, please return to your seat. We're in the middle of the ceremony." "Karen, I'm not sitting down. This union needs proper spiritual guidance." She turned around and gestured to a man in similar purple robes who'd been sitting in the back row. I'd noticed him earlier, but assumed he was her husband. "Karen, this is my spiritual leader. He's the one who should be performing this ceremony, not some government official." The bride finally found her voice. "Bride, are you serious right now? This is my wedding." "Karen, exactly. And as your elder, I'm not going to let you start your marriage with such negative spiritual energy." The purple-robed man started walking toward the altar, pulling out what looked like a small drum and some kind of incense burner. "Spiritual leader, let us begin the true ceremony. Everyone join hands and open your hearts to the universal energy." He started chanting in what sounded like made-up gibberish, while Karen began some kind of interpretive dance around the bride and groom. The incense was making people cough, and several guests started looking around like they weren't sure if this was part of the plan. The bride's father had had enough. "Bride's father, that's it. Security." We didn't actually have security, but the bride's brothers and a few cousins immediately understood the assignment. They started moving toward Karen and her spiritual leader. "Karen, you're all making a terrible mistake. This marriage will be cursed without proper spiritual blessing." "Bride, the only curse here is you ruining my wedding. Get out." "Karen, I'm family. You can't kick out family." "Bride's mother, watch us." The bride's side of the family formed a wall and started physically escorting Karen and her spiritual leader toward the exit. Karen was still chanting and waving her crystals around, while her spiritual leader was trying to keep his incense burner from spilling. "Karen, this isn't over. I'll be back to properly bless this union." That's when the groom's uncle stepped forward. I'd met him earlier. He was a lawyer who'd helped with some of the wedding contracts. "Uncle, actually, it is over. I heard you threaten to return against the wishes of the bride and groom." He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. "Uncle, I'm calling in a favor with a judge friend of mine. You're about to be served with a restraining order." "Karen, you can't do that. I'm trying to help." "Uncle, I absolutely can do that. You've disrupted a private event. ignored requests to leave, and threatened to return. That's harassment. Within 30 minutes, a process server showed up at the venue. Karen was still in the parking lot, apparently trying to perform some kind of cleansing ritual on her car. Process server, are you Karen Williams? Karen, I am a spiritual warrior of light. Process server, I'll take that as a yes. You're being served with a temporary restraining order. You cannot come within 500 feet of the bride, groom, or their residence. Karen, this is persecution of my spiritual beliefs. Process server, this is legal paperwork. Have a nice day. The rest of the wedding went smoothly. We had to restart the ceremony from the beginning, but everyone was actually more relaxed afterward. The bride and groom were laughing about it by the time we got to the cake cutting. During the reception, the bride's father told me that Karen had been causing problems at family events for years. She'd tried to spiritually cleanse her nephew's graduation party and had shown up uninvited to her sister's funeral with a different spiritual leader to perform what she called a proper transition ceremony. The restraining order was made permanent a week later when Karen tried to show up at the couple's house to complete the blessing ritual. She ended up spending the night in jail and was ordered to pay for the disrupted ceremony costs. The bride sent me a thank you note saying it was the most memorable wedding ever, and that the story of Aunt Karen getting arrested was already becoming family legend. Sometimes the worst wedding disasters make the best stories later. Story 2. I've been selling cars for 12 years, and I thought I'd seen every possible type of difficult customer. After my construction company went under during the economic downturn, I needed a job that could support my family. Car sales wasn't my first choice, but I discovered I had a knack for it. I'm honest with customers, I know my vehicles inside and out, and I genuinely try to help people find the right car for their needs and budget. Our dealership specializes in certified pre-owned vehicles. We're a smaller operation compared to the big chains, but we've built a solid reputation in town for fair dealing and quality cars. I've won Salesperson of the Month several times, not because I'm pushy, but because I listen to what customers actually want and need. Last month, I was working with a young couple who had been looking for their first car together. They were both teachers, recently engaged, and had saved up for months to buy something reliable. After test driving several vehicles, they fell in love with a blue sedan that was perfect for their budget. It had low mileage, a clean history, and all the features they wanted. We spent over 2 hours going through the paperwork. I helped them understand the financing options, explained the warranty coverage, and made sure they were comfortable with every aspect of the purchase. They were excited and grateful, and I felt good about helping them find exactly what they needed. The couple was in the finance office finalizing their loan when I noticed a woman I'd spoken with earlier that week browsing the lot. She had come in 3 days ago asking about the same blue sedan, but when I quoted the price, she immediately started demanding discounts and special deals that we simply couldn't offer. Karen, I want that car for $3,000 less than the asking price, and I want you to throw in winter tires, extended warranty, and a full tank of gas. Me, I understand you're trying to get the best deal, but our prices are already competitive. I can check with my manager about a small discount, but what you're asking for would put us below our cost on the vehicle. Karen, every other dealership gives customers what they want. You're just being greedy. I explained that we price our cars fairly from the start rather than inflating prices just to offer fake discounts. She left in a huff, saying she'd think about it. Now she was back, and I could see her staring at the blue sedan through the showroom window. I was helping another customer when she suddenly marched toward the finance office. Karen, excuse me, I want to buy that blue car outside. Finance manager, I'm sorry, but that vehicle is currently being purchased by these customers. We have several similar models if you'd like to look at those. Karen, what do you mean it's being purchased? I was here first. I looked at that car days ago. The young couple looked confused and a little worried. I quickly walked over to defuse the situation. Ma'am, as I explained when you were here before, we operate on a first-come, first served basis for actual purchases. These customers have been here for hours completing their paperwork. Karen, that's not fair. I was interested in that car first. You can't just sell it to someone else. Me, I understand you're disappointed, but they've already signed the purchase agreement and secured financing. The car is sold. That's when she completely lost her mind. She suddenly bolted out of the showroom and ran toward the blue sedan, which was parked in our customer delivery area. Karen, if I can't have it, nobody can. Before anyone could react, she yanked open the driver's door and literally licked the steering wheel. Then she started licking the dashboard, the gear shift, and even the seat. Karen, it's mine now by contract. I've claimed it. You can't sell a car that belongs to me. The entire sales team rushed outside, along with a young couple and several other customers. She was still in the car, licking various surfaces and shouting about ownership rights. Me, ma'am, you need to get out of that vehicle immediately. You're contaminating someone else's property. Karen, I'm not contaminating anything. This is how you claim ownership. It's an ancient law. My manager called the police while I tried to coax her out of the car. She had managed to lick the rearview mirror, the door handles, and was working on the radio buttons. Manager, ma'am, I need you to exit the vehicle now, or you'll be arrested for trespassing and vandalism. Karen, you can't arrest me for claiming what's rightfully mine. Check the law books. The police arrived within minutes. They had to physically remove her from the car while she continued to insist that licking something made it legally hers. The young couple was horrified and asked if they could still buy the car. Manager, of course, but we'll need to have the entire interior professionally cleaned and sanitized before delivery. The police charged her with trespassing, vandalism, and disturbing the peace. We had to review our security footage for the incident report, and that's when we discovered she had actually spit on the car's exterior before licking the interior. My manager immediately called our finance company to cancel any future loan applications from her. He also sent warnings to every dealership in the area about her behavior, complete with her photo and description. But the real consequence came when one of our younger salespeople posted about the incident on social media. Someone recorded video of her being escorted away by police, still yelling about contact-based ownership laws. The video went viral within hours. The Reddit post titled, "Karen Licks Car to Claim Ownership," got over 50,000 upvotes and made the front page. The comments were brutal, with people sharing similar stories and making jokes about her ancient law claims. Local news stations picked up the story, and she became known throughout the city as the car licker. We never saw her again, but we heard she tried to buy a car from 3 other dealerships and was turned away each time. The viral video had made her recognizable to every car salesperson in town. The young couple got their car after the professional cleaning, and they still bring it to our service department for maintenance. They always joke about how their car purchase came with unexpected entertainment, and they've referred several friends to us because they were impressed with how we handled the situation. Sometimes I wonder what goes through people's minds when they think licking something will give them legal ownership. But mostly, I'm just glad we have security cameras now. Story 3. I've been working as a triage nurse in the emergency department for almost 5 years now. It's demanding work, but I love being able to help people during some of the worst moments of their lives. You develop pretty thick skin in this job. You see everything from heart attacks to broken bones to overdoses, and you learn to prioritize based on who needs help most urgently. That's exactly what I was doing last Thursday evening, when one of the most entitled people I've ever encountered walked through our doors. The emergency department was particularly busy that night. We had a car accident victim in critical condition, an elderly man having a heart attack, and several other serious cases that required immediate attention. I was at the triage desk when she approached. She was probably in her early 40s, well-dressed, and carrying an expensive-looking handbag. She walked right past the other people waiting in line and came straight to my desk. "Karen, I need to be seen immediately. I'm having chest pains and difficulty breathing." I looked up from my computer. She didn't appear to be in any distress. Her color was good. She was breathing normally, and she seemed perfectly composed. Me. I understand you're concerned about your symptoms. Let me get some basic information and check your vital signs. I went through the standard triage questions. Her blood pressure was normal, her heart rate was slightly elevated, but nothing concerning, and her oxygen levels were perfect. When I asked her to describe her symptoms in more detail, her story kept changing. Karen, well, the chest pain comes and goes, and sometimes I feel dizzy. Oh, and my left arm hurts too. She was clearly trying to hit all the classic heart attack symptoms, but her delivery was unconvincing. I've seen real cardiac emergencies, and this wasn't one of them. Me, based on your vital signs and symptoms, I'm going to classify this as non-urgent. The wait time is currently about 2 hours. Karen, 2 hours? That's completely unacceptable. I could die waiting that long. Me, ma'am, I understand waiting is frustrating, but we have to prioritize patients based on the severity of their condition. Your vital signs indicate you're stable. Karen, this is ridiculous. I'm obviously having a heart attack, and you're making me wait behind people with scraped knees. She gestured toward the waiting room, apparently unaware that most of the people there were also dealing with serious medical issues. Me, I can assure you that everyone here is being treated according to medical priority. If your condition changes, please let me know immediately. Karen huffed and went to sit down, but she was back at my desk within 10 minutes. Karen, I need to speak to whoever's in charge. This wait is completely unreasonable for someone in my condition. Me, the charge nurse is with a critical patient right now. I can have her speak with you when she's available. Karen, no, I want to be seen now. I don't care who you have to move around to make it happen. That's when she said something that made my blood run cold. Karen, look, I know there's some old guy back there having a heart attack or whatever. Just pause his treatment for a few minutes so someone can look at me. I'm busy and can't wait around all day. I stared at her, genuinely shocked. In all my years of nursing, I'd never heard anything so callous. Me, ma'am, I cannot and will not interrupt life-saving treatment for another patient. That's not how emergency medicine works. Karen, why not? I'm younger than him, and I probably have more years left to live. It just makes sense to prioritize me. Several people in the waiting room had overheard and were starting to stare. I could see the disgust on their faces. Me, medical triage is based on the severity of the condition, not on age or perceived life expectancy. The patient you're referring to is in critical condition. Karen, I don't care about some stranger. I have a yoga class at 7, and I need to be seen before then. She actually said that. A yoga class, while demanding we pause treatment for a dying man. Me, ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding about how emergency departments work. We cannot delay critical care for convenience. Karen, this is discrimination. I'm being treated unfairly because I'm not dying dramatically enough for you people. Her voice was getting louder, and other patients were starting to move away from her. I pressed the button to call security. Me, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice. You're disturbing other patients. Karen, I'll talk as loud as I want. I demand to be swapped with that old man immediately, or I'm calling my lawyer. That's when Dr. Martinez, our charge nurse, came out from the trauma bay. She'd obviously heard the commotion. Dr. Martinez, what seems to be the problem here? Karen, finally, someone with authority, I need you to pause that old man's treatment so I can be seen. This nurse is refusing to prioritize paying customers. Dr. Martinez looked at me, then back at Karen with an expression of complete disbelief. Dr. Martinez, ma'am, are you seriously asking us to stop treating a patient who's having a heart attack so you can be seen for non-urgent symptoms? Karen, he's old. He's probably going to die anyway. I have my whole life ahead of me. The waiting room had gone completely silent. Everyone was staring at Karen in horror. Dr. Martinez, that is absolutely not happening. Our patient is fighting for his life, and every second counts. Karen, this is outrageous. I'm going to report all of you for negligence and discrimination. Security arrived just as Karen was reaching peak volume. 2 guards approached her calmly but firmly. Security guard, ma'am, you need to come with us. You're disrupting medical care. Karen, I'm not going anywhere until I'm seen. I have chest pains. She clutched her chest dramatically, but it was too late. Everyone had heard her real priorities. Dr. Martinez, based on your behavior and your vital signs, I'm confident your chest pains are not cardiac related. You're being discharged. Karen, you can't discharge me. I'm having a medical emergency. Security guard, you have 2 choices. You can leave voluntarily, or we can escort you out. Either way, you're leaving. As they walked her toward the exit, Karen kept yelling about lawsuits and discrimination. The entire waiting room watched in stunned silence. What we didn't know at the time was that someone had been recording the whole interaction on their phone. The video went viral within hours, showing Karen demanding we pause a dying patient's treatment for her yoga class. The internet was not kind to her. Comments flooded in from healthcare workers sharing their own stories of entitled patients, and Karen became a cautionary tale about hospital behavior. The hospital administration fully supported our actions, and Karen was banned from our facility permanently. The elderly man she wanted to swap with made a full recovery, thankfully. 3 days later, Karen showed up at a different hospital across town with the same fake symptoms. Apparently, the viral video had made its way to their staff too, and they were ready for her. The whole experience reminded me why I became a nurse in the first place. It's not about dealing with entitled people who think healthcare is a customer service industry. It's about being there for people when they're vulnerable and scared, and making sure everyone gets the care they need based on medical necessity, not social status. I still think about that interaction sometimes, especially when I'm having a particularly difficult day. It serves as a reminder that most people are grateful for the care we provide, and the entitled ones are just a loud minority that we have to deal with professionally. Story 4. I work as a campus security officer at State University, and I've been patrolling these grounds for 12 years. You see all kinds of stuff on a college campus: drunk students, bike thefts, the occasional protest. But what happened at the campus coffee shop last Tuesday morning was something completely new. It was around 9:30 am, right between morning classes, so the coffee shop was packed. I was doing my usual rounds when I heard a commotion coming from inside the student union building. There was a long line of students waiting for their caffeine fix, and everyone seemed agitated about something. I walked in to find a middle-aged woman with perfectly styled hair and a blazer marching straight to the front of the line. She was carrying a clipboard and had what looked like a university ID badge clipped to her jacket. The students were clearly annoyed, but seemed too intimidated to say anything. Karen, excuse me, coming through. Faculty emergency. She pushed past about a dozen students who had been waiting patiently in line. The barista looked confused, but didn't immediately challenge her. Barista, ma'am, there's actually a line. Karen, I don't have time for lines. I'm a tenured professor, and I have a lecture starting in 10 minutes. She waved her clipboard dramatically and tapped her fake ID badge. Karen, do you see this? I have tenure and no time for peasants. I shouldn't have to wait behind students. The students in line were exchanging glances, clearly upset, but unsure how to respond. That's when I noticed another woman standing near the back of the line, watching the whole scene with interest. She was older, maybe in her 50s, wearing casual clothes and carrying a leather satchel. Student 1. Ma'am, we've all been waiting. Can't you just get in line like everyone else? Karen, listen, kid, when you've earned your doctorate and published research papers, then you can talk to me about waiting in line. Student 2. That's not fair. We pay tuition here too. Karen, your tuition pays my salary. The least you can do is show some respect. The woman at the back of the line stepped forward, and I could see she was trying to get a better look at Karen's ID badge. Professor, excuse me, what department are you in? Karen, psychology. Not that it's any of your business. Professor, that's interesting. I'm actually the department head for psychology. What's your name? Karen's confidence faltered for just a moment, but she quickly recovered. Karen, Dr. Smith. I'm new this semester. Professor, really? Because I personally interviewed every new hire this year, and I don't remember a Dr. Smith. The students in line were now paying close attention to this exchange. Karen was starting to look nervous, but doubled down on her story. Karen, well, maybe you don't remember everyone. I'm adjunct faculty. Professor, I also oversee all adjunct hires. Mind if I take a look at your ID? Karen, that's highly inappropriate. I don't have to show you anything. The professor pulled out her own ID badge and showed it to Karen. Professor, Dr. Williams, psychology department head. Now, I'd really like to see your credentials. That's when I decided to step in. Something about Karen's behavior was setting off all my warning bells. Me, is there a problem here? Professor, this woman claims to be a professor in my department, but I don't recognize her, and she's refusing to show her ID. Karen, this is harassment. I'm reporting both of you to the administration. Me, ma'am, can I see your university ID, please? Karen, you have no authority to demand that. Me, actually, I do. I'm campus security, and faculty impersonation is a serious offense. Karen tried to back away, but I was already calling for backup on my radio. The students in line were now openly staring, and some were pulling out their phones to record. Me, ma'am, I need you to hand over that ID badge. Karen, fine, here. She practically threw the badge at me. One look at it confirmed my suspicions. It was obviously fake. The photo was poorly laminated, the font was wrong, and the university seal looked like it had been printed on a home computer. Me, this is a counterfeit ID. You're impersonating university faculty. Karen, that's ridiculous. I got this from Human Resources. Dr. Williams, I can call HR right now if you'd like. Karen, no, this is all a misunderstanding. My backup arrived just as Karen was trying to leave. We detained her while Dr. Williams called the administration to report the incident. It turns out Karen wasn't just a random woman trying to skip the coffee line. She was a known grifter who had been pulling similar stunts around town for months. She'd been caught pretending to be a doctor at the hospital cafeteria, a lawyer at the courthouse snack bar, and even a judge at the municipal building. Karen, I just wanted coffee. This is all blown out of proportion. Officer, ma'am, you're trespassing on university property with fraudulent identification. The investigation revealed that Karen had been coming to campus for weeks, using her fake professor act to get discounts at the bookstore, skip lines, and even attend free lectures. She had a whole collection of fake ID badges for different professions. Karen was arrested for criminal impersonation, trespassing, and fraud. She was permanently banned from all university property, and her mugshot ended up in the campus newspaper as a warning to other students and staff. Dr. Williams made sure to send an email to all faculty and staff with Karen's photo, warning them about impersonators. The coffee shop also put up a sign reminding everyone that all customers must wait in line regardless of their position. The students who witnessed the incident started calling her Fake Professor Karen on social media, and the story spread throughout the campus. Some enterprising students even made t-shirts with her mugshot and the caption, "Tenure this." Karen's sense of entitlement had finally caught up with her. All for a cup of coffee she could have gotten by simply waiting in line like everyone else. Story 5. I've been working at Adventure World theme park for 5 years now, starting as a ride operator and working my way up to guest services supervisor. In that time, I've seen pretty much every type of guest behavior imaginable. Most people are just trying to have a good time with their families, but sometimes you get someone who thinks the rules don't apply to them. Our park takes accessibility very seriously. We have special procedures for guests with disabilities, including expedited access to rides and attractions. It's one of the things I'm most proud of about working here. We genuinely try to make sure everyone can enjoy their visit regardless of their physical limitations. The whole mess started on a busy Saturday in July. We were at capacity, and the wait times for our most popular roller coaster were hitting 3 hours. I was making my rounds through the park when I noticed this woman pushing a teenager in a wheelchair toward the front of the line. This isn't unusual, we get legitimate accessibility requests all the time, but something about this situation felt off. The kid in the wheelchair looked perfectly healthy, and the woman was being overly dramatic about the whole thing. I approached them as they reached the ride entrance. Good afternoon. I'm here to help with accessibility services. Do you have your accommodation pass? Karen: oh yes, of course. My poor son here has a terrible condition. He can't stand for long periods at all. She handed me the pass, which looked legitimate. Her son was slumped in the wheelchair, head down, looking miserable. I'm sorry to hear that. What's his condition, if you don't mind me asking? It helps us determine the best way to accommodate him. Karen: he has, chronic fatigue syndrome and joint problems. Very serious stuff. Her son looked up at me briefly, and I could have sworn I saw him roll his eyes. But Karen was being insistent. Karen: we've been waiting in lines all day, and it's just too much for him. You understand, right? Absolutely. Let me get you set up with our accessibility entrance. I radioed to my colleague to prepare the special boarding area. As I was filling out the paperwork, I noticed the son kept shifting in his wheelchair and looking around like he wanted to be anywhere else. Are you comfortable? Do you need anything? Son: I'm fine, just tired. Karen: he's always tired. That's why we need the wheelchair. Tell him about your leg pain, sweetie. Son: Mom, I don't really. Karen: don't be shy. The nice man is trying to help us. Something was definitely not right, but I couldn't prove anything. I finished the paperwork and escorted them to the front of the line. The other guests who'd been waiting for hours were giving us looks, but that's normal when people use accessibility services. Just as we were about to board them onto the ride, music started playing from a street performer about 50 feet away. The guy was doing this amazing breakdancing routine, and a crowd was gathering. That's when everything fell apart. The kid in the wheelchair suddenly perked up and started bobbing his head to the music. Before Karen could stop him, he jumped out of the wheelchair and started walking toward the crowd. Son: oh man, this guy is incredible. Look at those moves. Karen: get back here right now. But her son was already pushing through the crowd to get a better view. Then, to everyone's amazement, he started breakdancing right alongside the street performer. I'm talking full-on spinning on his head, doing windmills, the whole thing. The crowd was cheering and pulling out their phones to record. I stood there in shock for a moment before the reality of what was happening hit me. Ma'am, I think we need to talk. Karen's face had gone completely white. She was frantically gesturing for her son to come back, but he was in his element, showing off for the crowd. Karen: he's having one of his good days. Sometimes the adrenaline helps with his condition. Ma'am, people with chronic fatigue syndrome and joint problems don't typically breakdance. Karen: you don't understand his medical situation. By now, other guests in the original line had noticed what was happening. Someone shouted from the crowd. Guest: hey, isn't that the kid who was just in the wheelchair? Another guest: yeah, I saw them skip the whole line. The crowd around the breakdancer was getting bigger, and more people were filming. I could see at least a dozen phones pointed at Karen's son as he did another impressive spin move. I need to see his medical documentation right now. Karen: we left it at the hotel, but I'm telling you, he has a serious condition. Then why is he breakdancing? Karen: it's part of his physical therapy. At this point, my supervisor had arrived after seeing the commotion. She took one look at the situation and immediately understood what was happening. Supervisor: ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us. Karen: this is discrimination. You can't treat disabled people like this. Supervisor, your son is currently doing a headspin. I think we can safely assume he's not disabled. Security arrived and escorted Karen and her son to the administrative office. The son finally seemed to realize he'd blown their cover and was trying to limp and act tired again, but it was way too late. During the investigation, we found out that Karen had borrowed the wheelchair from her elderly mother and had been using it to skip lines at multiple attractions throughout the day. Several other guests came forward with videos of her son walking normally when he thought no one was looking. The family was immediately ejected from the park and banned for life. Karen tried to argue that it was all a misunderstanding, but the breakdancing video had already been posted online and was going viral. The best part was that the street performer, who turned out to be a professional dancer, offered to teach Karen's son some proper moves since he clearly had talent. The kid seemed more embarrassed about his mom's behavior than anything else. We ended up using the incident as a training example for other staff members about how to spot fake accessibility claims. It's sad that people try to abuse systems meant to help those who genuinely need them, but sometimes their own actions expose them in the most ridiculous ways possible.